Okay guys, today we'll be discussing links in HTML. Links provide users a connection to some resource located elsewhere. This resource can be on the same document or HTML file or in an external document saved in a server or another computer over the internet. In HTML, these links are called hyperlinks. The word hyperlink is derived from the hypertext markup language, hyper. So we have hypertext markup language links. So it's just a short form for links. So the first thing we'll have to do is let's create that we need to set this up. Yeah, so we'll be introducing links to you by first specifying what the anchor element is. So the anchor element is used for creating hyperlinks in HTML. So to create one, just type in A for anchor. Now the anchor element has an important attribute known as the href. You might have seen that in the previous lectures. So the same function that href has in pictures and in image maps is the same function it has with the anchor links. So the first thing we'll have to do is let's specify a particular URL. I like using google.com. Permit me. https google.com. Then we have to specify a text here. You just type Google's official, just a search engine. Yep. Let's save this. Let's view on our browser. Here it is. When you click on this, which Google browser, the Google web search engine opens. Let's go back. So yes, we have our first simple link. The next thing I want to discuss is the behavior of links on web pages. On web pages, browsers render links based on how the user has interacted with the links. Now there are three major interactions or events that the browser watches out for. They are visited, unvisited, and active. So the visited event is when a user clicks on a link. The unvisited is when the link has not yet been clicked. And the active is when the link is open in the browser, say in a new tab. So that being said, let's look at what happens to the link that we just created. So just open the browser. Let's refresh this page. Notice that the color of this font here has changed. Now we'll be explaining these behaviors just shortly, but first let's talk about the attributes that are associated with the anchor tag. Now by default, all links in the document will open in the current browser window. This behavior can be changed using the target attribute. So what we can do is to add a target attribute here. Now there are four values that the target attribute can have. One is self. The self is the default. When you set this to self_self, the browser opens the page in the current window. Let's refresh. So it opens in the current window that we are in. But when you set this to blank, it opens the document in a new window or a new tab. So let's save this and see how it works. See that it opens in a new tab. We still have our document here. Each time we click on it, a new tab is opened. So the next we should set is parent. This opens the document in the parent frame. We cannot be able to see that now, but we'll be seeing that in subsequent videos. So to do that, you just simply specify this to parent and save. Even though you try to do this on your own, it won't really work. In this case, it works the way the self attribute works, the self value works. The next is top. This opens the document in the full body of the window. Again, let's try this, but I doubt it will work. You can read this out on your own. Sorry. Top. Let's save the file and open our browser. Again, it opens it the same way. And then we have been able to establish two facts. We can open a link in another browser window, or we can open in the self or the current window using the values self and blank. So there's something I would want to discuss here today. The first thing that we'll be discussing is We can also set an image we can also use an image as a link. To do this, we need to nest the image element in the anchor element. So this is how to do it. You can still use our google.com here. And then in here, we specify the image tag. Let's save our file. View in the browser. Sorry. So let's just change this image to food.jpg and leave everything as is. Save, and then let's view our browser. So we'll have the food.jpg. When you click on this image, it takes us to google.com. We could also add a button. To do this, we have to create a button element. Then we have to set an event. We'll be discussing this when we are working with JavaScript. So the event that the browser should be listening or looking for is the onClick event. So whatever we specify here is the action that will take place when the button is clicked. So we can specify this by putting the HTTP, the URL to the location by simply typing document.location. Specify this by putting the URL of the document here. So we now say HTTP, sorry, so the next thing to do is to click to put a text in the button. So I just say click me and save. When you save, you go to your browser and you refresh. We have click me on here. When you click on the button, it takes us to google.com. The last thing that we'll be introducing in this video is the HTML link element. The link element defines the relationship between the current document and an external resource. The link tag is most often used to link external style sheets, JavaScript files, API files, and other services. So we define the link element in the head tag by simply typing link. The first thing we have here is the rel and the href. So if you want to reference a style sheet saved somewhere in the file, it's very easy. We can, in the same folder that we have HTML links, we create a new file. Let's call it main.css. So what we're doing is we're going to be creating a link to this file that we just created now, this CSS file. So here we specify that it is a style sheet. Now the relationship should be, we can use absolute file relationship or relative file path. So what we do is go to HTML links and we reference main.css. That is all. So we can come to the CSS file, though we'll be treating this in detail in the CSS section. We can format all our anchor tags. So we can say a color should be, let's use blue. Don't like blue, sorry, let's just think red. Let's save this file. Save this also. Let's see how it looks on our web page. Go back. See that. So what color did we specify for this? Said A. Should be red. Sorry, since the files are in the same location, there was no need to specify the folder as it were. So just delete this and save the file. Let's open this in our browser. We can see that the anchor tag, the link is red. Earlier in the video, we talked about the events that the browser listens to or listens for, which are visited, unvisited, and active. Let's see how that works. Now we'll change the target to blank so that it opens on a new web page. Sorry. Then we'll go to our CSS file that we have here. We'll specify, say active. What happens to it when it's active? We can create a background color. You can change the font here, font family, to Verdana or my favorite Sejo UI. Change the font color to yellow. Okay, let's use Chartreuse. Let's save. Let's also save our HTML file. Let's see what happens to our browser. Refresh. When you click on this, let's see what happens here. Each time you click on this, the color of this icon, of this link, changes to the color we specified. So whenever this link is active, meaning you are clicking on it, the color changes as specified in the CSS file. The next thing that we'll be checking is the hover property. So we can tell the browser what happens when you hover over the element. Let's say font color. Let's save this file. Let's go back here. Each time our mouse is over the link, the color changes. So that will be it for today. If you want to get more information on how this works, you can go online and read to get more resources. But before we go, let me just specify something to us. Assuming we want to get fonts from somewhere else, like a resource or something, we can actually access information from a content delivery network like Bootstrap or Google Maps. The procedure is the same. Simply put link here. Over here, you can leave here a style sheet if it is a font. I'll be copying and pasting this for you. I will have this. Sorry. So this is a typical Google Font API. So what you can do is you can, let's come here, say div p save. Over here we can see that we have imported a font family Tangerine here. So to be able to use this file that we got from the Google API here, it's quite easy. Go to your CSS. You just created a div, right? So let's say our div or our p tag, you can say p, you can say font family. Let's call that font family that we just imported from Google. Now we've specified it here. Each time you put a comma after the first value for the attribute, for the property font family, if the browser cannot load this font, it searches for the next font you define here. So we can just put serif, as simple as that. So when the browser does not find this on the content delivery network, it renders whatever is in the paragraph element in the serif format. So let's save this and view on our browser. The font is quite small, so we can increase the font size to 40 pixels. Save this. Let's also introduce a thematic break here. Save this file and refresh. So you can see this is the font we just downloaded from Google. So whenever you want to use a font from somewhere else, all you need to do is reference it in the link tag. Now one last thing I want to show is this. Sorry, I said we're going to stop earlier, but I remember some other things I need to teach. If you open the folder which we were in, you will see the sample.txt. I need you to highlight everything in here, copy, and let's create first a thematic break. Sorry. Okay. Then P. So we have a lot of text here. Let's format it. So this is all the text that we have here. So we can actually use the link tag to jump from one place to the other. So let's cut out maybe any part of this text. Let's create another div element here. We have to set something called an ID. The ID attribute is used for giving elements a specific ID. Note, there can only be one ID for an element. So you cannot specify the ID for this to be, let's just say move or scroll. And you cannot assign this value to another element in this page. You'll be seeing this in CSS. So all you need to do is paste that code here. Then we create a link that will navigate us to that place. So here we'll have, let's create an anchor tag. Now we are going to put the ID there by putting the hash sign, and then let's save this, see how it works on the browser. So we have the entire text here, quite long, isn't it? So if you click the scroll to text icon, scroll to text link, it should take us to where the text is. See that the moment we clicked on it, it took us to the location of the text, and here is the text. So this is where we draw the curtains for today. See you in the next lecture.